What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Baking Analyst channel, where we wear winter coats inside our house because apparently it is crypto winter right now and the yield farming returns simply don't pay the heating bills, which are going to the moon. Here on this channel, and despite all of what I said earlier, we are on a journey to make DeFi common personal finance knowledge. So if you want to join us on this journey, hit the like button and consider subscribing. Today we're going to be talking about a topic which some might dismiss as hopium, but some might see as useful given the type of valuations that we're in right now. Specifically, we will be talking about how I made my first 1K in crypto and how you can do that too in 2023. So let's jump right into today's video. First, we'll be looking at how I did it. Second, we'll be looking at why we're talking about this now. And third, we will be looking at 3 specific ways that you can go about doing this because there are separate approaches that you can take. So first of all, let's jump into a trip down memory lane, back to the better times when things were a little warmer in crypto. There was DeFi summer and we were actually getting some proper yields. Basically, what happened was back in December 2020, I made use of this tool called Cake DeFi and came across this thing called liquidity mining. And that is where everything from this channel to this whole DeFi exploration thing came about. Now, I was mining perhaps like Bitcoin and DFI in this pool and was doing something along the lines of 400% APR, a far cry from what we see down here today, which also explains why this is no longer paying crazy heating bills. But what is most interesting is I put about $1,000 into this investment, and at 400% APR, you would expect to get about $4,000 per year, which is approximately $10 a day or slightly over $300 per month. Now, keep that in mind because 1 month later, after December 2020, the prices of DFI, which was the farm token in this case, went from 44 cents all the way up to $2.24. So about a 5x. Now that meant that my $300 that I made in yield over that month turned into a total of $1,500. Now you might be asking, well, this is all about price appreciation and speculation. Why are you talking about this now? Well, the reason I'm talking about this is because we are at valuations that seem very, very far away from the all-time highs. And if you all are still sticking around here, then chances are you do believe, in fact, in the future of crypto and that we will reach all-time highs sooner or later. So looking at this, we do need to get a few things out of the way, which is that Bitcoin is currently down about 75% from all-time high. Similar things can be said about Ethereum. Maybe Ethereum has been a bit stronger, about 74% down. So the idea of it is that you might not actually need really, really high APRs now, and you also might not need a huge amount of capital now in order to make your first $1,000 in crypto and beyond. Now that we've covered the reasoning behind why I'm talking about this now, as well as how I went about going and making my first 1K in crypto, let's have a look at the 3 distinct ways that you can do this today. The 3 ways are lending, liquidity providing, and airdrops. I'll be talking about the potential returns from each as well as the likelihood of actually getting those returns. Obviously for airdrops, the likelihood is much lower. However, the potential reward could be much higher if you play the right projects. So in today's video, in order to maximize your chances of the third option, which is Arbitrum airdrops, we will be focusing on the Arbitrum ecosystem, although I'm sure that pockets of opportunities like these exist on other large chains as well. So first of all, let's have a look at lending. And the protocol that we will be looking at today is a project on Arbitrum called Radiant. Now what they have over here is a one-click loop function which allows you to deposit USDC or stablecoins, borrow stablecoins out again, deposit them in again, borrow it out, and do the whole process 5 times in order to increase your overall APR. Now do note that your debt position will keep increasing with this, so this requires monitoring because your net APY, as we see, is negative. However, the reward APR more than makes up for this. This is paid for in, of course, the farm token, the Radiant token. So you will need to somehow manage your debt positions, perhaps use that Radiant token to pay off some of your growing debt. In any case, this does seem to be a pretty high net APY for a stablecoin, from 24% to even 37% if you play around with USDT. So that is the first way of going about this, getting about 20 to 30% APR by looping your stablecoins. Now, of course, these rates might go down in the future as more total value locked comes in, but we will be looking at this analysis from today's numbers. The second approach that you can do in order to make your first $1,000 in crypto in 2023 is through yield farming or liquidity providing. In this case, what you are doing in simple terms is providing the various coins for traders and bridgers to trade between. So let's say, for instance, someone wants to trade their USDC for Bitcoin, they need a counterparty to provide them with the willingness to buy USDC and sell them Bitcoin. As a liquidity provider, you provide assets to these two asset pools and receive a fee in return for the risk you take in holding these two assets. So that is liquidity providing in a nutshell. In this case, we are looking at providing liquidity to a bridge if you want to play around with stablecoins. LayerZero is one of the newest protocols that is focusing on cross-chain interoperability. You can stake your stablecoins on this bridge. And if you go with the Arbitrum side, obviously your rates will be a bit lower, about 5 to 6%, whereas I'm actually on the Optimism side doing about 8%. So this really varies depending on what you're playing with, but in either case, both playing with Optimism and Arbitrum maximizes your chances of getting an airdrop, with the former having confirmed that they will be doing further distributions. Finally, let's move on to the riskiest yield farming option, which is GMX, and this is the highest risk that we will discuss in this video because we don't want people to be getting rugged left, right, and center on smaller projects. So looking at GMX, this is a huge project on Arbitrum as well as Avalanche. They have $380 million in total value locked. Currently, the rates are paying out at 30% thereabouts. And the point of doing this whole GLP strategy is that the underlying assets, which you can verify in their reserves, by the way, is backed by blue chip coins such as Ethereum and Bitcoin, with half of them actually being stablecoins. So that is very, very, very good for those of you who want to limit your risk, only expose yourself to the top projects in crypto and stand a realistic chance of making $1,000 in 2023. So let's see how this adds up and how much you actually need to invest in this whole thing. So let's say you put half your stablecoins into Radiant and half your stablecoins into Stargate, and you get an average return of about 14%. Now, we didn't just pull that out of thin air. We took 8% plus 20% from the Radiant's looping strategy to come down to 14%. And now let's say you put the other half into the GLP strategy, which is paying out 29% as we saw earlier. That gives you 21.5% APR. Now, that does not seem like much. In fact, it seems to suggest that you will need to invest about $5,000 in order to get $1,000 of returns, barring any price appreciation. But that is the key point, barring any price appreciation. So now that we know that the Fed, of course, is kind of slowing down their rate hikes, what could we see in terms of prices in 2023? Now, taking a more long-term view, this might not, of course, be in 2023. It might be in 2024. But I think it goes without saying that if you're even watching this kind of video, you do think that crypto will go back to all-time highs and beyond. So looking at this, if we want to find out the types of returns that we'll get if we were to convert all our farming rewards into, say, Ethereum or Bitcoin, which GMX does for you by default, by the way, then we do see that we are expecting something close to a 4x if we were to go back to all-time highs. So really, you only need to be earning about $250 to $300 in yield in order to make your first 1K in crypto, as long as you just held it there till the next all-time high. So that is about $260. And if you want to find out how much you actually need to invest to get that kind of yield, you simply divide that by our earlier rate of 21.5%. And we find that you actually only need to put in about 1.2 grand, which is kind of similar to what we saw in the example that I described about how I actually made my first 1K in crypto. So all in all, I hope this video has been informative and useful. If you liked it, do leave a like down below and consider subscribing to this channel because we come out with this content on a regular basis. If you want to see more such content, do stay tuned. And with that being said, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.